people are always like, what celebrity would you always want to meet? And I'm like, I don't want to meet a celebrity. I just want to meet Melissa Paris.
You could have known me before I found racing. Like, in a lot of ways, I was like a shell of the person that I am now. Like, just like my teenage years hit me like a ton of freaking bricks and left me not really knowing who I was or what I was worth or what made me happy. And I think racing really like gave me a chance to find all of that again.
Hi, welcome to Moto Tribe. I'm Lara Croft.
Red Spade.
Sarah Merrill.
And today we have with us the one and only Melissa Paris. Melissa is quite impressive. She's the first female to qualify for a World Supersport race, the only female to test a MotoGP prototype race bike in history. She's raced British BSB series in Moto America, Daytona 200, a number of endurance races, and in 2017 she found MP13 Racing Team to promote young talent. Today was our honor to be able to interview one of our heroes, Melissa Paris.
So where are you at right now?
I'm somewhere in Louisiana.
Oh gosh.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know, but we've been on the road since May and we're just now heading home.
I have been following you. I didn't know how long it was, but holy cow, since May.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
Lack of other options, mainly.
So you make it happen.
Yeah, you know, like I wanted a family and I wanted to work in the race paddock, so I'm towing my house around behind my truck.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What was the last stop?
We were at Barber for Moto America, which I'm sure you guys saw. It was soggy.
Yeah. It was the first one I actually missed. I was really sad I didn't get to see it live this year.
I mean, I get like being bummed about not being there, but if you're gonna miss one, that might have been the one to miss. Like it was just very damp, and then like having the schedule like be put on hold and like not knowing what's gonna happen and all that stuff was like, you know how it is. It just makes the day feel really long sometimes.
Oh yeah, and stressful, I'm sure. Yeah, it looked like a complete shit show out there.
It was wild. It's weird because I'm sorry, like I feel bad because I have like this stripe across my face, but at the same time, it's the only thing keeping the sun from blinding me. But like I remember Barber's having excellent grip in the rain. Like I've raced there in the rain, and I was like pumping it up to the Royal Enfield Build Train Race Girls. I was like, if there was a track to race at in the rain, you guys, like this is the one. It's amazing. And then like the track was just like holding the water so much, so I lied to them, basically, and it was really rough.
Well, you didn't know. I mean, it's the new repave, so it's a lot slicker now in the rain.
Yeah, and it was coming down just like, I mean, there was nowhere for the water to go. Like, it was just so much rain. I guess it's the tail end of like a hurricane, so what are you going to do?
Yeah,
you can't do much. I mean, that rain was just constant. It wasn't like a small thunderstorm that came and went. It was constant for days.
Yeah, brutal.
Yeah, it was crazy because the BTR girls, they only have one set of wheels, so there was like a lot of anxiety trying to pick between slicks and rains because like you had to get it right, and there wasn't enough time to like do it at the last minute. And so actually like Sunday morning when we first got there, it was like dry, and I was like, or before the race or something, and I was like, well, it might dry out before your race. I don't know what to do, but I would rather you guys have like rain tires on in a dry race than slicks and it's raining. And so like we went with the rains, and we were all like doing the rain dance, like hoping it would rain. And I think like we were joking, next time let's just designate one person to do the rain dance, because maybe like with all of us doing it, it was like overkill. Yeah. So it's okay. It all worked out, and 5 of the girls were able to race, and they did a great job, and I was really proud of them. So yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So, could you tell us a little bit about the team? You have this team.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you guys followed it, but last year Royal Enfield did this program, Build Train Race. They gave 4 of us girls INT 650s. We turned them into flat track bikes, and we raced them with AFT. It was so cool. Like, it was a really amazing experience. And so Brianne Poland, who's head of marketing for the Americas and the global brand manager for the GT 650, wanted to do kind of the same idea but for road racing. And her and I have been friends for like 15 years, so she knows, my background's in road racing, and so she kind of got me all signed up to be the mentor. So we picked out 7 girls, and they all got a brand new bike out of a crate, and they had to build them into road race bikes. We took them to a couple sport bike track time events. They did a new racer school, and then we took them to Moto America and like let them have their first road race, like basically at a national championship level race. So they were so amazing. Like I had this picture in my head of like the caliber of riders I thought they would be, and like they surpassed my expectations like in every way. Like I totally underestimated them, and I have to own that. And seeing them all like blossom, like from women who had never really like worked on their own bikes to like women that like could work on their own bikes and troubleshoot problems and all that, plus like grit up and race them, it was just like honestly really fulfilling for me. So it was really cool. It was really exciting, and each girl brought something really unique to the program, so it was cool.
That's wonderful.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was wondering how you got pulled into that, and how you got established to be in charge of that. So that's very cool.
Yeah, Brie and I have been friends, I mean, since, pretty much since I was like around the AMA paddock. And her story is really amazing. Like, she literally came into it as an umbrella girl. Like, she started coming into AMA Pro events and was holding an umbrella for racers, and then she was running hospitality, and then suddenly she was running a team, and now she's like a marketing manager for a major OEM. So it's been really inspiring for me to see someone like literally like work their way from someone who, and I'm not slagging on umbrella girls because I actually like think that they play a really important role in the paddock, but like someone who's not necessarily given a whole lot of respect or no one's really paying attention to, and she just like sucked in like all the information and all the knowledge she could, and like, I mean, look where she is now. It's like, to me, it's really inspiring. So seeing her do that, and then she started traveling with me when I was racing internationally, and we just developed like a really special friendship, and having her trust me with these girls was like, it was pretty cool. So I think it's like made us even closer, if that was even possible.
That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. It just seemed like like you said, the progression of her going from an umbrella girl to this now. This is incredible. This is super inspirational for, I think, many women and men alike. So that just goes to show you, you shouldn't be pigeonholed into something. You can do it if you want to do it.
Absolutely. So and I know that you guys a couple of you have gotten your race license this year, right? All 3 of you?
I didn't, but they did.
Yeah, Anna and I did.
Yeah.
So are you guys going to apply for the program next year?
I actually was thinking of applying for it, and unfortunately, we bought some land, so this is why I didn't get to finish out my race program. It kind of, our priorities shifted, and we've been looking for like 2.5 years, and it finally happened. So, at least I got to do it, But Sarah, on the other hand.
Yeah, and actually this kind of leads to one of the questions that I had. And well, actually, in going back to the Brianne connection, so I actually met her, years ago, doing a shoot for Royal Enfield in Asheville, North Carolina. And I don't know how we got talking on the subject. Maybe I mentioned that I rode a sport bike, and it was like my dream to maybe race someday. And she was like, I know she's like, I'm friends with Melissa Paris. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know Melissa Paris? Because I have been following your racing ever since I first became a motorcyclist, and just thought it was so cool to see another woman represented. And so I got really excited when she told me that, and she was like, well, maybe you'll get to meet her someday. And so it's really cool to get to do this.
It all comes around, right? Like, it's such a small community, so I think like sooner or later we're all gonna bump into each other, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And but it more recently, I've been, I followed your racing, and then I think more recently I've been excited seeing your pictures with with the new baby and kids, because I'm expecting a baby. But it's kind of funny because I just got my race license, did my first race in February, was planning to do another one in the spring, and then found out I was pregnant. And so I've been really curious about, I have a lot of people, the girls and I were talking about it today, about how people make comments to me a lot about, oh, you're pregnant, so I guess you're going to sell all your bikes, or I guess your racing season is, or I guess your racing is like done, and I guess you're not going to race anymore. And so I guess I was just curious to hear, have you dealt with that, and how have you found that kind of balance? Because I hope that I can find that balance too.
Yeah, I mean, my heart goes out to you, because people can be really well-meaning and still be irritating, and people can also be like really ugly when it comes to things like this. So I'm sure, I don't know, maybe you guys know, like, both times I was pregnant, I didn't tell a soul. Like, literally, it was just Josh and I, because I have a bit of a quick tongue, and I didn't want to be in a position where I ended up saying something I regretted to someone who maybe in their heart meant well. So I just didn't tell anybody, because I didn't want a single person to say to me, like, should you be doing that? Because it's like, hey, it's none of your business, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I've talked this over with my healthcare professionals, and, it's really between me, my husband, my doctor, and God, what I'm doing. So, like, I don't really want to hear about it. So I actually raced with Hawk until I was like 18 weeks pregnant. And I think with Bretley, I think I was racing flat track right around 18 or 19 weeks. And, like I said, that was something I discussed with my doctor, and I discussed with my husband. And so, like, I knew what risks I was taking in those cases, and I knew what I was comfortable with and what I wasn't comfortable with. And I just didn't really care to hear anyone else's opinion about it. And after the fact, especially like with Hawk, there was like a piece on a pretty well-known like little blog thing online, and people said some really disgusting things about me racing while I was pregnant. That I mean, it was hard to read, some of it, like people saying like my kids should be taken away from me, I should be put in jail, or like literally someone said like, I hope her baby dies. Like, I mean, it was wild. Yeah. So I do feel for you. I think more than that, like, the thing that was hard was like for people who knew me or like fans of the sport, when they would say things like, you're not gonna want to race anymore. Like, this isn't gonna be, you're gonna have new priorities, or it won't be the same when you're done, or like any of that stuff. Because I really felt like, you don't know me, like, you don't know anything about me. And like, in most cases they were men, so I'm like, you don't even know what having a baby is about. So like, really, like, it was pretty frustrating. But at the same time, there was like this really nice moment of like vindication, like afterwards. Like, after I had Hawk the first time I rode my flat track bike, I have a picture, and it's like, I'm actually like still got a lot of baby weight on. I think I was wearing some of Josh's moto pants because I couldn't get into my own, and I've got the thing cranked sideways, and I think I put like as my caption, like, you said I wouldn't want to do this anymore, and you were wrong. Like, so yeah, like hearing other people's opinions was definitely like, I didn't want to hear it, so I just kind of like retreated into my own space and was like, la la la, I'm not listening. Because, I mean, I don't know, maybe I would have had a baby and not wanted to do it anymore. Honestly, I like riding even more now. Like, I have more, like, it means more to me now because I had to spend some time not doing it. And my riding time is, I'm laughing because Josh's phone is like Bluetoothing to the truck right now. And he's talking to the race director and it's like coming in here. It means more to me than like it ever did before, because now it's like a precious commodity. I can't just like do it when I want. So yeah, people are stupid. They don't know what they're talking about, and you should have known.
That's how I feel too. And I'm so sorry that people said those things. And I do think that people, they just don't understand. And like we were talking earlier just about how if you're really passionate about the sport, and for the people who really do know you, they're not going to question that. But I feel the same way. I've been I started kind of making that transition too, away from riding at about the 18-week mark, mostly just because I couldn't reach the buttons with my stomach. But because I am taking a break, I think it'll make me even more excited to get out there and ride afterwards. But I appreciate you sharing your standpoint and experience about that. And I'm sure it's hard, just, having to tune people out like that. But it seems like you've done a good job with that.
I was going to say, I do have a follow-up question to that regarding, I mean, you've been racing for so long now, and you know that's something you wanted to do. And when you got pregnant, was this something did you ever have a doubt in your mind that maybe racing is going to be not your priority anymore? Or you knew, so there was you went into it.
No, I mean, like, I could go on about this for so long, girls, but if you could have known me before I found racing, like, in a lot of ways, I was like a shell of the person that I am now. Just like my teenage years hit me like a ton of freaking bricks and left me not really knowing who I was or what I was worth or what made me happy. And I think racing really like gave me a chance to find all of that again. And there have been other things in life where I wasn't sure if I was going to get to continue racing, and it was like it shattered me. You know what I mean? Like, so as far as like even starting a family, we put it off as long as we did because I was like, well, I'm not ready to take a break from racing. And it's like, if you, if you're gone for a season, like you're done. You know what I mean? Like even if a male racer has an injury and is out for an entire season, like look at Marquez. People are like, he'll never be who he was before, right? Like, so that was like always in my head, and I literally got to the point where it's like, oh, if I don't do this soon, I'm gonna run out of time. We definitely cannot afford any medical interventions to help have a baby. We need to do this the natural way. So so I always knew I was going to keep riding and racing, and it sort of happened at a time when some of my race opportunities were kind of drying up, and I was able to like schedule it in a way that it was the least disruptive to my life, as ridiculous as that sounds. But I always knew it was going to be a part of me. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm so lucky that I have a partner who understands that I can't be a good mom unless I'm happy and healthy, and he knows that mommy being happy and healthy means mommy needs to ride a bicycle and ride a dirt bike and ride a road race bike,
That's so wonderful. That's so important in a relationship. I think a lot of people, and that's the thing, like I've had a lot of friends too who were obviously not competitive racing, but riding, were very passionate about it, and then they start a family and priorities do change, and many of them, sell the bike. So it's almost like it's like a meme at this point, like, oh, especially for the guys, it's like, oh yeah, you have kids now, you can't have motorcycles. So I love that you're breaking the mold. I love that Sarah's going to be breaking the mold.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing though. And like, who knows, maybe after you have a baby, you're going to get on a bike and you're going to be like, whoa, Nelly, that doesn't mean what it meant before. And like, that's fine too. You know what I mean? Like, there is literally no right or wrong answer. Like, at the end of the day, like, you just have to do what feels good in your heart. And, you know, like, again, like, it's hard. We're living in a travel trailer since May. Like, my daughter, we left the house when she was 2 weeks old, and we haven't been back. So she's 5 months old now. Like, so that's difficult, challenging. And like, yeah, could I probably financially be in a better position if I just like stayed home and had a normal job? Maybe. I don't know. But I'd probably be a real hateful human. So it's just not worth it. You know, I'd rather, you know, sometimes not shower for a couple days and whatever. It's fine. This is fine.
Yeah, you know, I mean, Melissa, you're so impressive. Like, I'm really curious how you got into motorcycle racing, you know, how you got into motorcycles to begin with, and then how did you get into racing? Because you have a lot of accomplishments under your belt. I mean, in 2009, you were the first woman to qualify for a World Superbike race. So that was really impressive. So I feel like women, we've all been on the sidelines watching you for a really long time. So would just love to understand some of, you know, how you got into the sport and how you got into racing.
I like to say that I'm like that super fan at a concert who like snuck in with a fake backstage pass. When I was a freshman in college, there was a really cute boy that lived in my dorms, and he had a sport bike. So I begged him to take me for a ride because it looked fun. He was cute. And so we ended up dating, and we used to go through the canyons in San Diego. He had an extra set of leathers. I'd put them on like over my jeans, like in my shirt, my hoodie, like they were so big on me. And I'd ride on the back, and we were like, in San Diego, we have Palomar Mountain, which is like our little local street. You know, you guys have the Dragon.
That.
Yeah,
I've ridden Palomar. It's wonderful.
Beautiful, right? So
loved it.
Doing that, and one day there was a girl there, and she was ripping down the mountain, and I just had this like moment where I was like, oh, I could do that. I don't have to do this. I could do that. And, you know, I was like, hey, I want to learn how to ride. And so I went and I took an MSF course, and I saved up, and I bought a crappy old motorcycle, and another friend taught me how to ride like in the parking lot at San Diego State. And so I started out on I had a Ninja 250 for about a month and a half, and then I got when I say beat up old FCR 600, like I really cannot even express to you what a pile this thing was. But it was mine, and I saved up, and I got myself a set of leathers, and I was at Palomar like 3-4 times a week. Like I was ditching class because I was still in school. I actually got a full-time job so I could like afford more cool motorcycle shit while I was racing. And yeah, so I was going to Palomar all the time. I still remember where I drug my knee for the first time. And then I was like, man, I got to get like a newer bike. Like I need a newer bike because like this thing is in rough shape. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to build up my credit. So I went to the motorcycle dealership, and they had a shipment of old Honda F4Is that had come from the Freddie Spencer school, and they knew me. So they're like, we're going to give you a smoking deal on one. And they ran my credit, and they're going to let me buy one for $5,000. And I was so excited about it. And they're like, which one do you want? Because there's 3 of them. And I picked out the one I wanted, and they went to start it, and it wouldn't start. The engine was blown up. And they were like, well, now we can't give you like the good deal on one of the other ones because like we just lost our ass on these bikes that we bought at auction. But the good news is you are financed for up to like $12,000. So you could buy anything you want off the showroom floor. This was in 2003. So I bought a brand new 2003 CBR 600RR. I didn't put a single dollar down on it because I had like $12 in my bank account, and financed it. And someone took me to a track day a couple months later after that, I started club racing on a bike that I was still making payments on. It was just like one good life choice on top of another.
I was about to say.
Yeah. It was wild, you guys. And it was like the most predatory loan you can even imagine because I was like 21. So it was like probably like 21% interest or something crazy like that. And yeah, I started club racing. And honestly, it was like a community that helped me because I had no money. So it was like a friend of mine was like, oh, I've got some rear sets. And like someone else was like, I'll spot you some body work. And I actually couldn't really afford to do track days. So I used to help out at Keith Code School. So I could help fix bikes that students crashed. And then in exchange, they'd let me ride for free. And then when I wanted to start racing, I didn't have enough money to take the racer school. So Keith Code actually like signed off and said I'd taken his racer school, even though I hadn't because I couldn't afford it. So, yeah, so like that was how I got started. It was wild. And then, you know, I eventually realized I was really in over my head on that 600, owing a shit ton of money on it. And I was able to like wheel and deal and get out from under it. And I got an RS 125 and then, you know, kind of went from a 125 to a 250 to a 600 and then blah, 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 blah.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is history. Like literally like so much like wheeling, dealing, and like friends helping and like people just like throwing me out. Like I could not have done any of it if I hadn't had like such a cool community of people around me that like just genuinely were kind and helped me. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you know, that's the thing about the motorcycle community. Typically, I mean, it just seems like everyone is willing, you know, if they see you, you're passionate about it and they want to see you succeed as well and they'll help you. I mean, at least it's always been like that in my experience in the paddock.
Yeah. You know, like I hate to be this way, but for all the things in life where we talk about women facing like a glass ceiling at work or things that make stuff harder, like I like to say like motorcycle racing is the one place where maybe it's not so bad. You know what I mean?
See, I was going to ask you about that because I've always had the feeling or the impression that generally, not in every single case, obviously, but generally it is. I do feel like it's the one sport where women get more of that equal treatment and kind of, and I don't know why that is. Maybe because we are a minority in the sport. But yeah. I feel like there's level ground there.
Yeah. And I think the one thing that's like, well, part of it is I think we have a pretty sophisticated fan base compared to a lot of other sports. Like when you look at just the demographic of the people that follow motorcycle racing, you know, they're smart enough to see that if a woman succeeds in our sport, it's good for our sport. It's going to elevate the whole sport. So we're really fortunate for that, you know. The only time I've ever gotten lip from anyone has usually been like older dudes. You know what I mean? But like
they're mad. They're just mad.
Yeah, or just like, you know, it's like that whole like, what's such a little lady doing on such a big So yeah. I'm sure I feel like I saw a lot more of it on the street or like, you know, when I was single, like I like to like laugh about like, you know, you'd like meet a guy and he'd like inevitably be like, I was on like my Honda Ninja and I had to lay it down and you're like, stop, please stop talking. But no, for the most part, like people in this sport, like, you know what I mean? They know what's up. They're down with it. So I love that. Like when Kayla Yakov got on the podium this past weekend, everyone was cheering for her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah.
I think guys, and I think they enjoy cheering for women, but I was wondering if you ever experience, I don't know if it's like a common term. I always think of it as the ponytail effect, where like when you're at a track day and you have your ponytail at your helmet, it's like the guys all of a sudden, you'll just have guys all of a sudden the fire lit under their butt to try to pass you because they never want to be slower than the girl. Do you ever experience that?
Yeah, Josh says a ponytail is good for 10 horsepower for whoever's behind you. Right?
That's funny.
I will say, like, at the professional level, not at all. Like, dudes that are good and know they're good, like, they don't care. They don't care who you are. They want to beat you. It's the same for everybody, right? But for sure, like, at club races maybe, or like track days, like the best was like when I used to go to track days on my 125, you guys, it was obnoxious. Like I had like my bike was like black and had like a little like pink stripe down the side of it, and you know, like 2 little like pigtails hanging out the back. And my buddy Eric, I used to do a ton of track days with him, and he was like on a 125, you know, it's like all momentum, so you can't like go up the inside of someone and stuff them. So like honestly, most of the time on a track day, you're sailing around the outside of people, like full Hail Mary move. And he was just like, he'd have like a tally of how many people he'd watch like literally like run off the track or crash, like because what looked like a 16-year-old girl, you know what I mean, like coming around the outside of him was like hard on the ego. But like as you get up into like expert, I don't know if it was like a matter of time passing or just like, you know, being against like experienced racers, I feel like I see less and less of that, you know. Definitely like people that are like newer to the sport for sure, I think are maybe sometimes caught off guard. Like there's a lot of really fast girls, you know.
I can attest to that because if I ride an intermediate, there's always someone trying to get in front of me and then running off the track and crashing.
Yeah, for sure. It's so funny.
It's bad.
The last race I did, when I was pregnant with Hawk, like I said, I was like 18 or 19 weeks pregnant or something. It was at Salt Lake or at, Utah Motorsports Complex. And I was like locked in a battle with this dude, right? It was like a stock 1,000 race. And after the race, he comes up and he's like, not bad for a guy in his 40s, right? And I was like, yeah, not bad for a pregnant chick, right? Like,
you told him?
I don't think he like believed me.
That's awesome.
Like, yeah, for sure. Like, I was like, what does that even mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I love about this sport. Like, it's literally the only sport I know of where we can compete, like, on the same level. Like, basketball, football, even motocross. Like, you have to be strong, like, so big and strong. And for road racing, like, you don't. Like, look at most GP riders. Like, we're bigger than them, you know?
Yeah.
Girl, I am so happy to hear you say that. That makes my heart happy. I'm glad you feel that way.
It's a universal thing.
So why don't you think there are more women racing then? If men and women are equal out there battling, you've broken a lot of barriers with being the first woman doing, being in a race or riding a MotoGP bike or doing a lot of other things. Why have you been the first?
So my theory, I have a big theory on this, and it's most of the people you see in the Moto America paddock started riding or racing when they were like, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, right? So I think to be competitive at that level, you need to start getting exposed to these things at those young ages. I didn't start racing until I was 21, which is like ancient for most road racers. So I think the problem is not enough moms and dads are putting their daughters, Sarah, on motorcycles. I don't know if you're having a boy or a girl, but
it's a boy. I wish it was a girl.
All right, well, maybe number 2. It's hard though, because like you see guys, they're like, oh, like I've got, like I'm having a boy, I can't wait, I'm gonna put him on a dirt bike. And most of the girls that you see coming up racing, in a lot of cases, it's because there were no brothers. You know what I mean? Like, I always wonder what would have happened if Elena Myers had a big brother. Would she have ever raced? Would her dad have been so... I mean, I don't know. I've never asked the guy. I guess I could have. But, like, people are so hyped to put their sons on dirt bikes when they're kids, and you just don't necessarily see it as much with daughters. And I would always ask, like, in the autograph lines when kids would come up, I would always ask, like, oh, like, am I going to see you out here racing soon? Or like, do you ride motorcycles? And like a lot of times it was like, no, I don't ride, or I've got a quad. You know what I mean? And so I think if we want to see like more women like racing at top levels, then what we really need to do is like encourage more adults to give their young girls a chance, put their young girls on dirt bikes, just like they're doing with their little boys, and I know I will. I'm going to try really hard not to force it on her, but Bretley is going to have every opportunity that Hawk has, like to try it out and see what she thinks. And I think if we want to see like more girls like racing at a high level, we need to start supporting racing for young girls, for kids. And that's, I don't know how, but I want to be involved in that one way or another. Like, I'm always like watching the Ovale Cup, and there's a couple really fast girls, and I'm like, I need $1 million so I can help these kids.
Right?
So I was going to say that kind of like actually brings to my I had a question too with your kids. Are you planning, obviously they're around motorcycles and you're very forthcoming about it and you want them to ride, but do you feel like you will try to maybe groom them to be racers and professionally have them in that realm? Or are you leaving it more natural to see where they want to go?
You know, I think my first priority is like, I just hope they have a love for riding the way I do. Like, I enjoy it so much, and I want to be able to enjoy it with my family. So that's like my first priority. And if they want to do more, I will support them in any way I can. You know, Josh would say he wants them to be golfers and tennis players because it's a lot more lucrative. But I just like, all I care about is that my kids have something that like makes their heart thump the way mine does. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously I want to be able to go to the motocross track with my kids because Josh likes to golf sometimes and I don't have anyone to ride with, and that really sucks. So I want riding buddies for life, and that's like priority number one. So the big thing for me is it just has to be fun. So like, people always ask us like, oh, is Hawk racing yet? And it's like, no, like, he loves riding at the house. He refuses to ride at the motocross track. Like, if there's other kids around, he rips. Like, the kid is so fast. It's amazing. But he will not ride unless we're in our backyard. And I just have to be cool with that as much as it kills me. You know what I mean?
So is he shy? Is he just shy? Or?
I cannot figure it out. Like, because we'll have like all the guys over for training, like Bobby Fong, Garrett Gerloff, like all these like heavy hitters, and they're all like riding 125s in the backyard, and Hawk's like on his PW50, like trying to ride with him, no problem. And then like we bring over like a 4-year-old, and he's like, I don't want to ride. So I don't know if he thinks it's like too good for them, or I just can't push it, you know. It's the same thing. Like I always said, like, I'm gonna have him racing BMX bikes. It's gonna be so fun. And I got all pumped because the local BMX track has a strider class, and I drove him down there, and he refused to do it. And I was just like,
no.
Play it cool, like act like you don't care. Like, that's cool, little buddy. You don't have to do it. We'll just watch. And like on the inside, I'm like, I'm dying right now. Like, this is crushing my dreams.
We're gonna keep this clip for him so he sees it when he's 16.
I know. It's just like, hey, that's my thing though, right? Like, that's my dream. That's not his dream. So if he wants to do it, he can do it. And if he wants to play piano, like, play piano. Whatever you do, just work hard at it. I don't care. Pick something and kill it.
Yeah,
I like that.
So with Josh, I think it's so cool that you guys are this motorcycling racing couple and traveling around together. But so who's more competitive out of the two of you, you or Josh?
We are both really competitive, but like in totally different ways. Josh obviously has had like a lot more success in racing than I have, and so he obviously carries quite a bit of confidence because of that. And so he has this like confident kind of competitiveness where I definitely have like the chip on my shoulder kind of competitiveness. So it's like different brands, but like Josh is like a super sore loser, so like that makes stuff different. Like, I have to tell this story because it makes him crazy, but like, we used to ride supermoto a little bit, and he had a 450 and I had a 250, and like, he was always better than me. He just like kicked my ass like he should. He's like a 1 billion-time national champion. But for some reason, one day we were actually again at Salt Lake, and we're riding around on the kart track. He's on his 450, I'm on my 250. I'm struggling, and he goes, I want you to ride my 450 so you can like see some stuff I'm trying to tell you about. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I get on it, and like, I passed him and like rode away from him. And I was thinking in my mind, like, oh, he is just like goofing off or whatever. But my buddy Jerry was there, and he was like, oh, no. He was like pushing so hard behind you. Like, he like legitimately couldn't keep up. And I was like, that's crazy talk. So we switched back, and I got on my 250, and I did it to him again. And it was amazing. it was like, honestly, like the biggest achievement of my motorcycle career. And it was just like a day at the kart track goofing off. I totally kicked Josh Hayes' ass. And if you ask him about it, he will patently deny it and say it never happened. Like,
oh my God, I love that story.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure he sold his supermoto bike like a month or 2 later. I was like, I don't really like riding a supermoto. It's like not that much fun anyway.
Oh, that's a big bold lie.
Yeah, so and that made it maybe a little bit more meaningful because I knew it really hurt him.
That's healthy competition, though.
Yeah, no, it's all good. You know what I mean? Like, because at the end of the day, we both want each other to succeed. So
yeah,
cool. There's room for trophies for both of us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's good that you share that passion and get to travel around and doing what you love and getting to share that together. And then you've got the kids and that too. And but yeah, I kind of wondered if you and Josh ever got competitive with each other.
Yeah, it can get ugly. When we were like training a lot on bicycles, it would get real bad some days because like I've got a super good poker face on the bike, so like I could act like nothing was hurting me, and like we would like, oh, you wanna just keep going? Like you wanna add some more mileage? Yeah, sure, I'll add some more mileage. And then like by the end of the day, we're like almost dead people, but like neither one of us wants to be like, dude, we've been at it for like 4 hours. I'm like dehydrated. I haven't eaten anything. I'm dying. Both of us. No, I'm fine. I remember like one time we did a particularly rough day, and he's like, "You wanna take a shower before we go to lunch?" And I was like, "Nah, I don't really sweat that much." And like a year later, I was like, remember that time when I said that? And he was like, yeah, I remember that. And I was like, dude, I almost couldn't walk up the stairs to our bedroom. Like my legs were like broken.
That's really funny.
That's hilarious.
Sometimes healthy, sometimes not that healthy.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask you, you've had a lot of accomplishments in your career. What are you most proud of? Was it this day or was there another day?
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure that was a big one. Qualifying for that first World Super Sport race was pretty special for me. That was like a pretty wild one because that was only like my second pro race I ever did. And Josh actually like told me not to do it. So we got into like a bit of a fight about it because straight up, he was like, you're going to embarrass yourself. Like, and he's never said anything like that to me before. And he was just like, you're not ready. Like this is a bad idea, And at that point I felt like the harness on the roller coaster was on and I couldn't get off. I'd committed. So I did it. And it was pretty cool because after qualifying, Josh was like, I was wrong. He was like, you gamed up. I didn't realize like you do well under pressure, and I was wrong. You did great. And so that was like a pretty big moment for me, Mm-hmm. And obviously like just all the 24-hour races, I was pretty proud of those because they're just hard.
They seem hard.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like a mental, it's like physically hard, but like mentally really hard too, and it's like 3:00 in the morning and you're like exhausted and you gotta just go do the business anyway. But there's also like such a feeling of accomplishment. Like, Sarah, I will actually liken it to childbirth because as you're doing it, you're like, I am never doing this again. Never. And then like afterwards, like you're holding the baby and you're, oh, this isn't so bad. Maybe it was worth it. It's like kind of the same thing. So
well, that's good to know because I feel like I'm already I'm not even quite done the second trimester and I'm already like I'm never doing this again.
Yeah, it's rough. Girl, I'm with you. Being pregnant is no joke, man. That is an endurance race in itself.
So a big question that I had too. So you've done the racing, but then you've also been a crew chief and you're working with the Build Train race. And so is there one that you enjoy more, or maybe not even necessarily enjoy more, but is there one that maybe you feel like better in tune with than the other?
Like, for sure, I prefer racing. You know what I mean? Like, I always just want to be riding, and I think I just naturally started working on stuff because I had to, like, as a privateer, like, start learning about stuff. And then I enjoyed, there's a thing about working on motorcycles I enjoy, which is like, it's very like factual. Like, if you follow the steps, step 1, step 2, step 3, like, it will work. You know, if you do the thing right, it will always work. And like, I'm a pretty anxious person, especially like socially. I can struggle with this quite a bit. And I'm all like, with people, you never know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I could say the exact same thing to all 3 of you and get like a different response. And that tears me up inside because I hate like not knowing what to expect. And it makes me anxious and nervous. And so I love working on bikes because, like, if you put in the right inputs, you will always get like the right output. And there's something really like wonderful about that. And I enjoy it. And I enjoy those like quiet moments in my workshop where I'm figuring something out, or I'm calling someone and they're explaining it to me and I'm learning something new. And I think knowing how to work on my motorcycle has made me a better racer. And so, like, I get a lot of enjoyment out of that. And as far as being a crew chief goes, like, being able to like still be a part of the race or help someone, like, that's really fulfilling. I do really enjoy it, but at the end of the day, I'm selfish and I'd rather be racing myself.
Makes sense. So I actually love following your posts where you're building stuff, and every time you post a story or a photo to Instagram and you're working on your builds, I love it. It's so inspiring to me. I'm assuming you kind of alluded to it because you were a privateer, you had to learn all that on your own. When I got into riding, my husband said he would not work on my motorcycles if I got more. He'll help me with something if I can't physically like unwrench it or whatever. So, and I struggle with it a lot. I'm not strong. So when I watch you and see you just tackling these really hard things that I haven't even started tackling yet, you know, it blows my mind. So how did you learn? Did you have someone shadowing you, or did you learn in the paddock? How did you get into it to know so much?
I mean, I just basically, like, I've got a great group of friends that I can call, right? So I've got 3 or 4 guys that have been crew chiefs or work for big teams that are so happy to share their knowledge with me. And I'm so lucky. Chuck Giacchetto and Ed Sullivan, who both work for Westby Racing, like, amazing. Like, those 2 guys, like, I have called them with like downright embarrassing questions. And they always are there to be like, just, okay, here's what you got to do. Like, you know, and they'll explain something to me. I'll YouTube stuff. Like, you know, like, sometimes I'll ask Josh. Like, Josh is actually pretty handy with a wrench too. You know, I've got another really good friend, Josh Alverson, who's worked at Factory Honda. He's worked for Graves Yamaha. So, like, I'm really lucky because I think my biggest attribute as a mechanic is that I know who to ask when I don't know the answer. So I'm super lucky for that. And I think also, like, when I was a teenager, my dad like never let me use being a girl like be an excuse for anything. I don't think because he was like, I'm gonna raise her to be a big strong woman. I think he was just like, I got 5 freaking kids, like, I don't have the time to treat her any different than anyone else. You know, so whether it was figure out how to push the lawnmower or how to break that nut loose, like, he wouldn't let me drive my car when I was 16 until I proved I could change a flat tire. You know, he just didn't want me stranded on the side of the road. Yeah, he didn't want me to ever have to be like a damsel in distress, and I really appreciate that. So, you know, you talk about like not being able to get a bolt off sometimes because it's so tight. I remember, like, I broke something on my car. I was trying to replace like a transmission mount. I'm like 16, like 115 pounds, and I'm like I can't get it off. And my dad was just like, I'm sure you learned about leverage at some point, and like just wanders off. And it's like, oh, I need a longer wrench. That's what you know what I mean? So I love him for that. Like, sometimes, like, in the moment, I probably wanted to wing a wrench at his head or something and just be like, come on, dude, just help me. But I get it, you know, because like, if Josh is around, like, I have no problem being like, bro, this thing's heavy, help me out, or it's tight or whatever. But sometimes he's not there and I don't want to wait for him to get home. So sometimes you just got to figure that shiz out, right?
Yeah, I've been there before and it's brought tears and blood and it's not fun, but it's so frustrating sometimes. But I guess just watching you do it, it's super inspirational that maybe one day I'll get there too with everything. So please keep inspiring.
One thing I really like to do too is like post my fails also. You know what I mean? Like most of this shit I did not figure out right the first time, you know? So like I've got no problem like posting a picture of like the 14 drill bits I broke trying to safety wire. You know what I mean? Even though it means I'm going to get 20, yeah, and I do it knowing I'm going to get 27 DMs of people mansplaining to me what I did wrong, right? I know all three of you.
If I had a nickel.
But I would rather like, yeah, right? Like, I'd rather just share it and be like, you know what I mean? Like, I just wish Instagram, like, I wish people showed more of their failures. You know what I mean? Like, I just think it's important because, like, nobody figured for every, like, Wheelie Wednesday picture, there's, like, 4 broken fender off pictures, right? Like,
yeah.
And I just like, I think that's so important. We have to celebrate our failures as much as we do our successes. So I do try to like show that as much as I can. Cause like girls, I have jacked some shit up on motorcycles. Trust me.
Well, that makes me feel better.
Yeah, me too. And you don't get to your level without messing something up. I mean, that's part of the learning process is like you said, you're never going to get it right the first time. And just worrying about, oh God, did I do it right? Like that's my big fear. Like, okay, so I put it all back together and I don't have any spare bolts left, but is this going to blow up on me when I'm on track? That's like, maybe. Well, here we go. Let's see if I have brakes.
Yeah. I mean, like Hunter had a huge crash at Laguna this year, like bike, like end over end. And me and his dad, who's also like a mechanic, were like thrashing to put this thing back together to make the super bike race. And we get it together and they're like making 5-minute call and we go to start it and the bike won't start.
Oh.
And it's like, I mean, at that point, there's like nothing we could do. Like we didn't make the start of the race. So we start looking into it and, hey, that's weird. Like usually like we pulled the tank off, pull the airbags off. And usually on an R1, when you like cycle the key switch, the throttle bodies kind of like do this little like wink at you. Right. And they're not doing it. So like instantly me and Tony are like, he crashed this thing so hard he broke the throttle bodies. That is impressive. You know what I mean? And we're like running in to grab spares and we're like doing all this stuff. And Chuck Giacchetto from Westby goes, stop what you're doing. Check the fuses. And it was like a 17-cent fuse that had blown, you guys. Like that's what stopped us from getting out there. I'm literally trying to change throttle bodies.
Oh my God.
And it's like a fuse, you know what I mean? And like that's, you know, like it's embarrassing, but I think people should know that. Sometimes when your bike won't start, you should check the fuses. But he's just like that. He was like, that's a race mechanic move. He's like, you went for the most complicated thing it possibly could have been instead of like the simplest, like most obvious solution. So for sure, we all come up short.
Well, that's a great example. I like that one. I'll remember that next time I'm freaking around trying to figure out what is wrong with my Honda.
Yeah,
sometimes it's as simple as the kill switch.
Yeah, right.
I still made them. I mean, I've been riding for like I don't know over a decade, and still just this summer I made that mistake with the kill switch.
I mean, it happens, right? Like, what are you gonna do? It's fine. We all. The thing is, like, I just think you have to like be open about it because, like, it's the people that try to act like they never mess up. You know what I mean? That's what like scares other people off from trying. You know, because they're like, I don't know, that person's just like amazing and gifted, and like everything they touch turns into gold. You know, and I'm like, no, like, I've rounded off bolts too. You know, a lot of them. So it is what it is, you know.
Yeah, you got to be real. You really do.
Yeah.
But I'm really curious, what's next for you? So, like, where do you see your career going, your motorcycle career?
Well, you guys got, I guess, the sneak peek here because we haven't. I'm trying to like get the press release together, but for next year, my plan is to get MP13 Racing back together and go racing in the Twins Cup with the new Yamaha R7 with a rider. Yeah, I won't say who's riding it yet, but let's just say it's a very high caliber rider. So I'm very excited about this.
Yes.
That's
Can't wait.
awesome.
Yeah, definitely like love being my own boss, and like the whole team owner thing is like really cool. And like plus with my involvement with Royal Enfield and the Build Train Race program, like being able to like run my own program makes it like a lot easier to also be an asset to that program too, because that's, I don't know if you've heard, but that's expanding for next year, so we'll have 15 girls racing. So
Fantastic.
yeah, it's
That's
gonna be
very
awesome.
impressive what they're doing, what all you guys are doing. That's wonderful for the sport.
Yeah, I'm really
Love
excited
it.
about it. I think we're going to have some really cool stuff, and we're opening it up to people with a little bit more experience than it was open to this year. So I think we'll have a really good pool of applicants, hopefully you three. So
I'm thinking
yeah,
about it.
I'm just saying it's a really cool program, and I'd love to have a mom out
Man,
there. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that does sound
God,
exciting.
if I didn't have a full-time freaking job, oh,
I know, right?
that's the hardest thing. Just, being part of corporate America. I already what I do, that's all my vacation time that I, take
Yeah.
off to do just to get to ride. It sucks.
I totally understand. Like, I totally get it. Like, it's definitely a time, a hobby that takes up a lot of time. So it definitely is challenging like that.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what are the qualifications? Like, if someone's interested in the program, what are the things that they need to have? A motorcycle license, obviously. But, how much time does it take and what do you need to have? How do you apply?
We haven't actually like narrowly defined it, and we didn't last year either. We just kind of said like we just opened it up. Anyone, hey, if you're interested in this, like fill out the application and do the video submission. Because what we were most interested in is getting like a group of riders that were closely matched, because we wanted them to be similar level so that we have good racing, and also so that they could like push each other. So based on like the applicants we had last year, we decided we wanted people who had like decent amount of experience riding, possibly racing in another discipline, but like none of those girls had ever ridden on a road race track before. So they might ride on the street. A couple of them had raced flat track. We had a motocross racer, and then a couple girls that hadn't done anything like that. So it worked out really well. I think for next year we're looking at having either people with like some track day experience or maybe some club racing experience. So basically, again, I think we're just going to invite like everyone to apply again, and then we're going to kind of like evaluate and again like try to get a group of people that are kind of a similar level.
What's the time commitment? Yeah, either one.
Well, yeah, the time commitment is we're hoping next year to have 6 rounds plus usually like 2 trainings, plus you have to build your bike. So the build obviously you can do on your own time at home, but definitely like it is a time commitment, because like going to a Moto America race, for example, you're usually flying out like on a Wednesday or a Thursday and then flying home on a Monday. So you're gonna miss 2 to 3 days of work if you have like a Monday through Friday type gig. So and then you got to do that 6 times. So obviously like that's quite a big. It is a big commitment for sure.
And that's besides training, going to track and training, building, and it's definitely
a big one. Like this year, it was only 2 trainings and then 3 races. So I know like doubling it's going to be a challenge. We're going to have to like, that's a big tractor behind me, huh?
I was like, that looks really weird. Are you rolling backwards?
Yeah, I know, right? I was like, actually, like, got disoriented for a minute. I was like, "Am I moving?" No, wait, no, I'm not moving.
Oh, and I was just curious, how many applicants do you recall that you had for this first season?
Yeah, I think last year we had like around 100 to 120, if I remember correctly. Yeah, but
That's
it
great.
was
That's
such a broad
excellent.
range. Yeah, it was really good. But I mean, like honestly, there was like I had everything from like girls who are like expert level club racers down to like there's a couple of people who are like they're one of the questions I think was like what's like one thing that might make this hard for you? And like one of the girls was like, well, I have to learn how to ride a motorcycle first. You know what I mean? So it was like a very wide range of people. So like trying to, like I said, like get like that group that's gonna like be close to each other on the track was like definitely a challenge. So I'm excited. I'm excited for next year because like we're gonna invite back a few of the same girls from this year, and then we're gonna have like a new crop, and I just can't wait to watch them like kind of like force each other to raise their level. I'm like getting text messages from my girls like over the last day or two, and like everything they've said about it has just like made my heart grow like 100 times. Like a couple of them saying like this has like changed my life, and like to me that's exactly what I wanted because that's what racing did for me. So yeah, it's been like really special, and like seeing them just grow so much, like not just as like riders but like their confidence and everything has been really, really cool.
I was gonna say that's probably the number one thing you're gonna get out of these ladies is it's gonna change their life for the better. It's gonna teach them so many things. It's gonna make them realize that they can do anything. I know once I finally got on that racetrack and actually competed, like that was literally the best moment of my life. Like racing was just
Yeah.
always such a dream, but it wasn't until you do it and then you're like, holy shit, I can do anything. Like it made the rest of the world just like, I got this. Like it's an amazing feeling,
right?
you know? It's so inspiring. So
I love hearing like
get it.
other people say that. Like I love hearing other people like had that same like it's a shared experience for sure. You know, like I think we all feel that. So
Yeah.
so cool.
Well, awesome.
Ladies.
Yeah, ladies, do you have any other questions? I think we covered the ones that I know I have or that I can think of right now.
I know I was seeing, was there anything I missed? But I think we
Is there
kind of
anything
went on a
we've missed,
tangent.
Melissa? Something
I
else
don't think
that
so.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because my husband's like trying to take my I think we're good. I just like saw my husband like go running across the parking lot with like a baby in an arm and like a toddler in the other and
Oh, no. Mom is needed.
I think my time might be up. I'm so sorry.
You're great. This was awesome. I loved connecting with you and hearing your stories, how you got into it, how you're supporting other women getting into motorcycling. I think that that's really what we should focus on, you know, as motorcycle riders, is trying to figure out how do we get more women in it. And I love that you're opening up the next season and you'll have more people, and we would love to spread the word in however way we can.
Yes. Please do. Yeah, it's all about we all got to lift each other up, right? So we appreciate that, and make sure anyone out there that's interested, like we're going to open up applications at the end of October, so get it in. And even if you think you're not qualified, you might be. So just try out. You never know.
Awesome.
That's great.
We'll spread the word for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, ladies.
Thank
you.
I'll talk to you later.
See you.
Bye.